Welcome back once again to another episode of The Foally of Man. I'm Chris. With me here today,
I'm Robert.
And we're here to look at Chapter 5, Calamity.
Yes, we are indeed. And in fact, those of you at home are welcome to a new site. Unfortunately, it's our faces. So let us know in the comments what you think of a video feed, or if you'd just rather there be a plain episode card, as it were, all the time.
My beautiful visage.
I figured I'd just do, cut rate budget right now, just one camera angle. But if people like it, who knows? We certainly got the technology to keep going. We have a little bit of housekeeping that we need to do, first and foremost, in regards to the podcast portion of the Foally of Man podcast.
Yes, we've added a data stream.
Yep.
For it, so you can actually download it as an audio file.
Yep, we have an RSS feed through Libsyn. And you should be able to find that as of today. We have not been approved by iTunes yet, but we have been approved by Google Play Podcasts. And you can find our RSS feed if you will look below, not in the comments, but in the description, episode description. You'll find links to not only the audiobook and copies of the book itself by KCAT, but you will find our RSS feed. So if you, for those of you who actually, I will say, Roger 44477 or 44477 or 44,477. I don't know how it goes. I mean, there's lots of numbers here, but yeah, Roger, thanks for wanting a version of this that you could download. And there is now a version that you can download starting. Yay! Yeah, I was going to say all 3 episodes that preceded this are available, and this episode, of course, will be available. So if you follow, you won't even have to come check YouTube. It'll just auto-populate in your RSS feed.
Beautiful golf clap. I
know. And so that's enough self-congratulatory things. For those of you who are listeners and now watchers, thank you so much. It's nice to have comments. I love following the comment section and seeing people. So it's good to have some feedback. And in fact, we are fortunate enough that the author herself, posted about us on her blog.
Oh yeah, she keeps a an ear to the community.
I just think that's fantastic. So KCAT, thank you. I feel like there's more pressure to not say hypercritical things since the author of the book is observing, but it is my job. It is, nay, my responsibility, my civic duty. I'm glad you picked up on that. It is my civic responsibility to be honest and forthright, because if I'm going to be the non-Brony portion of this show and I'm not honest, what's the point of listening, right?
Oh, yes.
If there's something I don't like, I'm going to tell you.
Okay. Well, getting into this chapter, Little Pip wakes up, finds out she's not dead, finds herself in a town. Meets back up with Ghoulish Pony, gets a job.
Well, you're jumping a little bit ahead of yourself. At first, we don't realize it's a ghoul.
Well, I'm skipping.
No. I know. I was just, but that's an interesting point. So Little Pip first comes. Oh, what's her name? Ditsy Doo. Ditsy Doo. Yes. Sorry, I've got my cheat sheet notes here. But yeah, Ditsy Doo looks like a zombie, so she just thinks zombie.
Yeah.
But of course then the term ghoul comes around. I was even reading and I was like, this isn't a zombie. This has got to be the ghoul equivalent. And sure enough, it's terrifying, hairless, half-dead ponies.
Yep. And anyway, they get a job. They go down. They finally go into a stable. You see you kind of see the interior of the stable, meet the horrors that live inside.
And first off the bat, one of the first things we start noticing is that vaults aren't always nice.
Stables. But yes.
Sorry. Vaults. Stables. Yes, stables. John Stables. The stables aren't always nice, and that they, as a parallel to the vaults in the Fallout universe.
Oh yeah.
There seems to be some signs of early experimentation. Now, the first one is that this one seems to be based around a patriarchy.
Yes. This is something that may not be.
Or is Little Pip's vault the experimental one that's based around a matriarchy?
Well, see, that actually does tie into the show, and that's one thing that is in the show, is that the universe is a matriarchy. Like, the show's universe is a matriarchy. It's governed by and administrated by mostly females. There's a few males there, but it's just females. Mm-hmm. But yes, that was supposed to be kind of this what? Luna and Celestia are men?
Yeah,
that's not right.
Yeah, Prince Celestia or Prince Celeste, something like that. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, so it clearly that society's different. I just think it's so funny that Little Pip is like, this is just raw, and there's nice juxtaposition between Little Pip and what's his name, Calamity. Calamity saying, "Oh, is it so wrong? Is it such a bad thing?"
She's like, yes, it is, and I can't tell you why, but it just is. How dare you?
Yes, I know. I love that he makes the comment about about a female pony in the kitchen.
Yeah, it's just to needle her at the end.
No. Yeah, it wasn't. It was just showing her sexism.
Yeah.
And I was satisfied. We got at least a little bit of an explanation of the mechanism behind his rifles.
Oh yeah, the battle saddle.
So let's check. So Appaloosa was the name of the town, the settlement.
New Appaloosa.
Sorry, New Appaloosa. Not to be confused with New Appaloosa.
Or Old Appaloosa.
Or the Old New Appaloosa. Or
Yeah.
Pepsi presents Appaloosa.
Or Appaloosa Classic.
Oh, yeah. Appaloosa Classic. Yeah, you don't want New Appaloosa. But anyway, so New Appaloosa, where we get to meet a couple other interesting... Yeah, so this is Little Pip's first experience with... I hate saying society.
Civilization outside.
Civilization. But yeah, civilization outside of the stables.
Yeah.
And so in a way it's a revelation. Now, of course, Little Pip was gravely wounded and was only saved by magic. But I got a bunch of notes here, so there's a lot that we can go over. One of the things I thought interesting right off the bat was talking about the actual event. So the big, not calamity, but the war.
Yes.
And they refer to it as, hold on a second, where is it? Not as an atomic bomb, but they call it
a bale
megaspell.
Yeah,
a megaspell. That's what it is, not an atom bomb.
A balefire bomb.
From the zebras?
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. It's one of those things I keep forgetting. I keep expecting. So there is nuclear radiation. There is radiation in this.
Radiation is not nuclear, it's magical. Magical radiation.
Magical radiation.
Yes.
Well, and we also find out in this episode, or rather this chapter, that magical radiation can mutate things just like nuclear radiation can do.
Well, more like the nuclear radiation fallout, yes, not nuclear radiation in real life that will just kill you.
But I thought that's how I could be Spider-Man. I just need to go roll around in some nuclear waste.
No, you need to get bitten by a spider that's rolled around in nuclear waste.
Oh, I gotcha.
Completely different.
And that doesn't just give me cancer and I die?
That too. No, it gives...
They need to have that in a superhero comic book. Just at a certain point, it's like, wait, seriously? You thought I'd give you powers? No, you have cancer. You have 4 weeks to live.
Well, there was the one episode in the Spider-Man novels where he
Careful here.
Where he tried to... Where he did the deed with Mary Jane and did her cancer.
Yes. No, I do remember that because of... anyways, that's
weird. Anyway, going back... your notes. What else do we have?
All right. Let's see here. Oh, talks about the battle saddle, which he thinks it's funny that Little Pip hasn't figured out. It has no idea what the battle saddle is.
And yet perfectly knows how a combat shotgun works.
Yeah.
What do you think, audience?
Yeah.
I'm not buying it.
I thought it was really interesting that Calamity seems to have such disdain for the gods. You know, the idea of Celestia and Luna pulling the sun and the moon through the sky. And not only does he scoff at that kind of a prudish idea, that very protected idea, but he seems to have a distaste for the idea of gods. Which would make sense in this world that you're trying to survive in.
Yeah, I mean, any type of ideological perspective is just offensive.
Gotcha. Well, let's see here. So they get down into the vault. It is completely abandoned, or rather, it's not completely abandoned, but it is full with a new breed of creature, referred to as chimeras.
Yes. I mean...
Which is just the standard term for hybridization of an animal, but it is the... We believe that it's a combination of a cat and a snake.
And a fly.
Right.
They thought a fly. Like, they had no idea if anything else was caught in, but something had to happen.
Right. And through all their exploration, we find out, Little Pip has to learn more about picking locks and those sorts of things. But Little Pip actually has a little bit of a heroic moment. I mean, there's been a lot of moments like that, but Calamity gets attacked.
Oh yeah, and he gets one right in the back, where it stings him and lays its eggs in him, and it will burst out of his chest, all alien style, if she does nothing.
Yes. And we find that out through the terminal and sound files that were left around, as well as they figure out that they need to get into the overseer's office. It's really interesting. The story is written like a Fallout quest.
Yeah.
Not necessarily written like how an actual book is written. Here's where you are. Here's the item you need to find. But see, it is written more like the video game.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It plays off extremely like that. So it's
I was going to say very similar to the video game. But anyways, finds the antidote that they were able to craft inside the overseer's office. The overstallion's office.
Well, it was just there. It had a crafting recipe with it.
That's what I mean. There was one vial left that the Overstallion didn't use, as well as the recipe and a copy of the lockpicking. What's it called? Today's Locksmith.
Yeah, and a audio, a little audio log.
I gotcha.
That was meant for the Overstallion.
There's something about this chapter. There's a quote that makes me that I think sums this chapter up well in regards to Little Pip. And tell me what you think of this. So this is a quote by Christopher Reeve. Not from one of the films. This is just actually from himself. A hero is an ordinary individual who finds the strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles.
True.
And I think that's very true. So what we're seeing here is that Little Pip actually does something truly heroic.
Yeah.
I mean, it took her to not just kill things. It took her to, at great sacrifice, and to do something. That's what I like, to do something, strengthen, persevere, and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles. So it's not
great risk.
So it doesn't mean that you're necessarily exceptional, but that you can rise to the level of exceptional when you need to.
Yeah. I mean, it was pointed out by Calamity. Calamity, the chapter is she could just leave at any time, and he'd probably hate her for it, but he kind of understands too. But she's like, nah, we're not going to do that.
We also have introduced in this chapter the concept of a bottle cap mine, concept of bottle caps. Little Pip apparently held on to a bunch of pre-war money that we find out is really only good in bulk because it can still, open some machines.
Oh yeah,
that otherwise haven't been busted open by raiders that have colas, sparkle colas.
Caps, yeah.
You have to collect the bottle caps. Let's see here. Yeah, Vault 24. Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that. So if Stable 24 sets up this patriarchy, or I guess that's what we'll call it. I don't know if there's another My Little Pony term for it specifically.
No.
But it sets up this patriarchy. It kind of makes you wonder what else. It seems like this place was designed to fail. Like, I can't tell with Stable 24 if it was just poorly put together, or if it was intentionally designed to fail to test its resonance.
Some of them were designed to fail. Is the same with the vaults. I don't think this one was. As you learn in the story, the events which transpired, which caused the destruction of life in the stable, were not related to the event. Were not related to the experiment itself or the happenstance. However, you are right. The fact that they tied their water system directly into the reservoir, into the water table, meant that the whole place would kind of flood.
Yeah.
Whenever the water rose outside, which is not a smart thing.
Not a great design.
I don't think that actually, based on the other parts of the story, I think that was just poor foresight, because a lot of these, like the vaults in the game, the stables, some of them were hastily put together.
Right.
So, or some of them were put together with a little lower budget than they probably should have, or with contractors who were trying to skim a little off the top. So,
yeah,
you're going to deal with that a few times.
That's kind of stable tech all in all. We also go over, Little Pip is experiencing a little bit of regret, having left, but also realizing all that she's been exposed to because she left the stable in the first place, kind of realizing what a prison it can be or could turn into. Here's this place that she thought was completely safe, and now she's realizing very quickly how fragile that is.
Yeah, the ecosystem there is very, very possible to be extinguished.
It is interesting that our characters, for the most part, and this reflects the games, come from the vaults/stables that weren't a social experiment, that were just legitimate.
Yeah,
vaults.
yeah.
With the exception of Fallout 4, where that is
and
an
Fallout
experiment
1.
of source. Right.
And technically, I guess Fallout 2 didn't start in a vault at all, so that doesn't count.
And neither did New Vegas.
True. But Fallout 1, I don't even know what the hell's going on in that story, because Fallout 2 comes along and takes a massive shit on everything that the Fallout 1, like the basis for the vaults. I don't know. It was so stupid.
Has anybody called it Fallout yet?
No, I don't think we ever will.
Missed opportunity.
I don't know about that.
I'm pretty sure it's a missed opportunity. So we also get, going back to Ditsy Doo, there's all this prejudice that we're learning about. So obviously, from the Fallout games that there are ghouls and there's prejudice against ghouls, and they call her Derpy.
Yeah, because of her eyes.
Yeah, well, yes, of course, because they got that eye that rolls back into her head. But I thought it was really interesting that at least the parallels there. However, it is there is a reason to be somewhat afraid of someone who's a ghoul.
Yeah, because they could at any time snap and kill everyone you know.
I was going to say, I believe Calamity refers to him as, unfortunately, a ticking... No, it's not Calamity, it's the woman. The woman that they're talking to says that they're a ticking time bomb. You never know. Yeah,
so it's like, wait, you should be in... I actually like that about the writing, is that here's a scenario where any other story would paint this situation as pure black and pure white.
Right.
Obviously, this woman is wrong, and Little Pip is the obvious right one, progressively seeing the world as it should be. But no, it's not quite that simple. And that the woman in the town is right, and that feral ghouls can become feral, and she doesn't want her son to be either the one to make her snap or to be the one in the crossfire if Derpy snaps.
So instead of risking getting close to Derpy at all, just keeps her. I mean, we're seeing kind of we've already come across classism, where we have the different classes of pony. Mm-hmm. We learn about spells in this chapter, and about how it's so funny. There's so much D&D language in this.
Yeah.
Well, every unicorn pony develops a certain level of spells, and here's Little Pip like, I don't have any spells. I can only do minor levitation. However, it's interesting to hear the ability to lift things getting stronger. We meet Crane, who's an interesting unicorn pony who has immense strength. Has an immense ability.
Telekinetic strength.
Yeah. Who's the mayor type? That's the one I can't remember. The sheriff, or what's his...
I honestly can't remember.
You don't remember? Yeah, I didn't get it quick enough when I was listening to it. I didn't take
I feel like his name is only dropped like once or twice.
Gotcha.
He'll come back up in the story again.
But yeah, I just love that he says that Crane is the strongest telekinetic he's ever seen. Mm-hmm. Of course, lifting train boxcars. I mean, from what Little Pip has struggled to lift some guns. So yeah. That's pretty astounding. But again, like in the game, Crane is training Little Pip to be stronger with levitation.
Yeah.
But
Q80's montage.
Right. Yeah, I know. Right. We have already had. We've had classism. We are now seeing a form of not of racism. It's not a different race, but prejudice. We're seeing prejudice against ghouls. Mm-hmm. In this episode, we see chapter. In this chapter, we see sexism on both sides.
Yeah,
we see.
Yeah,
and in fact, we see it from Little Pip.
Yep,
more than anything.
And I don't think it's ever really brought up again. But yeah, no, you will actually see racism in here as well. Yeah. I mean, obviously, there is racism.
With the zebras.
Towards the zebras,
I was going to see if we're going to get it. Did they get into mules or anything? Because you've mentioned in the past that being a thing in the show, sort of.
Well, yeah, but later on.
I got you.
Mules and cows were introduced to in the early part of the show, early enough for it to be in this story. But actually, as far as I remember, there aren't any cows.
Gotcha.
Sorry, Brahmin.
Oh yeah. I could have sworn they do mention a Brahmin at some point, a two-headed.
Yeah, they may have.
I think it's briefly early on.
Yeah, but
we also we get into PTSD.
Yeah.
So Little Pip has a PTSD moment when Calamity is trying to shoot the Chimera off of her back.
Yeah, she's just like, oh great, I'm suddenly flashing back to when I was shot before. This is wonderful.
Right. Well, and you can see in the moment Calamity realizes what happened, or rather, you don't see it, you hear it. Or you understand it if you're reading it and not listening to an audio tape. But even he's sensitive to it, and he makes a point to apologize specifically. not just I'm sorry I shot you, but I'm not just sorry because you were a hero who saved us. I'm sorry because you're a good person and I trust you.
And she picks up on that later on. Like at first, she doesn't understand exactly what his motivations for being there are, and then she realizes, wait, he actually really feels bad for shooting me.
Calamity seems like a likable enough character, but with a name like Calamity, it kind of makes you wonder what it's going to be like moving forward.
We'll see. You'll see. Yeah. I mean, I think the name.
Do you remember
fits.
what his cutie mark is?
It's not shown yet.
Oh, okay. I wanted to make sure that I hadn't. Oh yeah, okay.
See, now you can see me putting my finger on my nose. This is great.
Yeah. And you're not just picking your nose. Yeah. Well, if you really want to gross people out at home, two things you can do to turn viewers off. Pick your nose and mention Donald Trump. Geez, there we go. There's 15 subscribers after saying his name.
And Flame Wars.
Sorry, I meant to say Z's name.
It's only down here from Hill.
No. Obviously, we're only going to talk about politics in the pony world.
Yes, actually, that will.
So how about this Drumpf pony, man? Am I right?
Yeah, it actually does come up. Actually, politics does come up in the story. Later on, mostly the pre-war, and there's
politics.
Yes,
philosophy.
You're digging there. You're really digging. But yes, it is gone into that both pre-war and current age politics. So if you do like that kind of thing, which I know you do, you'll definitely start getting a kick out of that.
How dare you? I get a kick out of it. These things just write themselves. It's great.
Yep.
It's great. I find you've ruined me. I find myself catching pony puns all the time now.
Yeah, it wasn't me. It was you.
Yes. Well, interesting. So I don't know. Let's see here. I just want to make sure I haven't missed anything. Have we talked about Candy, the nurse?
I mean, there's only so much to tell. It kind of reinforces Little Pip's sexuality, but beyond that, her character, I don't think even goes anywhere past what we saw in this story in this chapter.
I gotcha. Well, doesn't Calamity ask Little Pip? Oh shoot! No. It was the Candy asks Little Pip about Calamity.
Yeah, because that's what happens. Candy.
That's right.
Isn't he so handsome? And she internally thinks, him. Forget him. You're hot.
Yeah. Well, and also, he just shot. I've been in bed unconscious for 2 days, and I only know it's been 2 days because of my. What's it? It's not Pip Boy. Pip Buck. That's right.
Pip.
I knew it was a buck. I knew it was a buck something. It's Little Pip and Pip Buck.
Little Pip Squeak.
Yes, Little Pip Squeak. Yes, to be more specific. Any other things that you wanted to bring up from it?
No. Like I said, this is the chapter where I got hooked into the story.
I got you. This is a long chapter too.
Yeah.
Whereas most of them take about 20, 30 minutes to read or so. This one took a little.
Well, they also
an hour.
cover one event, while this covers, I think, really two.
Yeah. You get Appaloosa, and then you get the stable exploration. However, it's not clear why they suddenly decide that they have to go in there. Like, it seems like the worst place for them to go. I get it. There's a bad storm, but it just, I didn't quite feel like, understand why exactly that was the only place they could go into.
True, but at the same time, if they hadn't gone in, they wouldn't have gotten the recipe.
But at the same time, Robert, shut up.
Yeah.
Let the art flow over you. Yes. So, the other thing is, too, it was a little too tidy. How the chapter ended. I remember reading along and just as like, it's like, okay, he's healed and we're getting out of here and dynamite, and then we're suddenly back in Appaloosa.
Yeah.
It was just boom, back. I was like, wait a minute, did I miss something? And I went back and listened again. Nope, didn't miss anything.
It's a very quick return. I think that happens a couple times in the story, but nothing to that degree. It's mostly just like there are implied things that happen, but otherwise everything else is the same.
I gotcha. Well, before we leave for today, there's a couple things I wanted to ask. I think that it would be great, since we have an active comment section, if we would start a listener question of the week. So, listeners, we're going to start a listener question of the week. So you can submit your questions in the comment section below, and we will select one, or we'll select several. And feel free to ask us. You can ask Chris more things about his Brony-dom, anything about the book, our impressions. You can get personal, but I wouldn't say too personal. If you start asking us like circumcision questions, that's a little too much, don't you think?
It's a bit too far.
Yeah,
too far.
Yeah, that's pushing boundaries.
Yeah.
Sex life, those kinds of things. I'd say that's pretty much going to be, what kind of peanut butter we like.
It's a little too personal. I couldn't answer that.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're so private.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't call you Chris Open Book Insert last name here for nothing.
Oh boy. Okay, so from Chris and
Robert,
this has been the Foally of Man. Thank you for joining us.
Bye. Y'all come back now.